Hello, and thank you for joining us today for Frost Sullivan's latest webcast from our Energy and Environment Practice. Today's event is titled Launch of the SWAN Forum, North American Alliance will promote data-enabled smart water future. My name is Ana Guerrero, and I oversee Frost Sullivan's GIL webcast series. Before we begin our event today, I'd like to go over a few quick notes. This presentation will be available immediately on demand, and you can view it at the conclusion of the webcast. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation, and you can do that by clicking on the Ask a Question button. You can also safely share this webcast at any time by clicking on the Share This button within the player. We will have some detailed slides on today's presentation, so there's a full screen feature available to you at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Finally, before you leave, we encourage you to leave any feedback or ratings under the ratings button. With that, I would now like to hand the presentation over to Seth Cutler.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you to the audience in attendance today. We really do appreciate everyone taking the time to learn more about the SWAN North American Alliance and the issues our presenters will talk about today. As a quick introduction from myself, my name is Seth Cutler. I'm a senior industry analyst with the Frost Sullivan's Environment Practice. But within the Alliance, I help as the events group leader to coordinate our membership activities, such as this webinar, to promote a better understanding and increase the deployment of data-driven solutions within the water industry. Today's webinar is the first of many more to come. We have a great panel of speakers today. With us are Amir, the Executive Director of the SWAN Forum, Mark Bracken, the Vice President and General Manager of Ecologics, but also the Chairman of the Alliance, Biju George, Chief Operating Officer at DC Water, and who also leads the Alliance's partnership group, Steve Davis, Internet of Things and Analytics Business Leader from GE Water and Process Technologies, and Captain Nelson Mix, Engineer with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. So we have great contributions from the utility, industry, and regulatory perspectives today. At the end of our presentation, we'll have time for a Q&A session. During the presentation, as Anna mentioned, feel free to ask questions in the system bar, and we'll go through those at the end. And as a quick note, I do understand that Biju is dealing with a little bit of a cold, so we do apologize should there be any inconvenience over that. At this moment, I'd like to hand things over to Amir Cahn, who can help introduce the SWAN Forum.
Okay, thank you, Seth. I want to talk today about SWAN and what the world is witnessing now, which is a data explosion. And the number and types of sensors out there, the frequency data is collected. You hear buzzwords like big data, IoT revolution. And the question is, what do utilities do with all this data? How do they create valuable information? And that's where a smart water network comes into play. There's no one clear definition for a smart water network, so SWAN created a 5-layer architecture model. The first layer is the physical layer, which includes the pipes, the valves, the reservoirs, which are not necessarily smart, but you need it. The second layer, when you start getting smart, is where you measure different parameters like water quality, pressure, flow, using different meters and sensors. The third layer is how do you relay all that information, so you can use different communication technologies like radio, satellite, GPRS. The fourth layer is when you start getting pretty intelligent, and that is where do you really visualize all this information. So it includes technologies like a SCADA system, GIS, and the fifth layer, the most advanced layer, integrates information from the below 4 layers and provides real-time data analytics and remote control. SWAN, the Smart Water Networks Forum, is the leading hub for the smart water sector. A nonprofit industry forum, SWAN brings together key industry leaders to advance the use of data technologies in water and wastewater networks worldwide. Here on this slide, you can see the different SWAN members, which represent a good mix of large companies, startups, water utilities, academics, and engineering firms from all over the world. And today, I want to focus on SWAN's newest initiative. I want to introduce Mark Bracken, who is the chairman of the SWAN North American Alliance.
Thanks, Amir. So thanks to everybody again for joining us today. And what I'd like to do is just give you a few brief words on why SWAN North America. When Amir asked me to chair SWAN North America, I had to think pretty carefully about it because, as everybody knows, we're very busy in our 9-to-5 jobs. But the reason I said yes was my belief in the need to advance smart water and the acceptance of smart water solutions. And really, I saw no other group that was focused on smart water. There's a lot of water associations around the world, and they're all doing great work, but nobody's really focused on smart water, and I saw that as an opening for SWAN. SWAN North America I've been very impressed with the level of effort and the progress we've made. We have 5 subgroups within SWAN. As you heard already, Biju George of DC Water heads our partnership. Christina Foster of Schneider Electric, our outreach group. Graham Simons of Fathom is our research lead. Seth, who you've already heard from, is events. And we have a policy group led by Michael Koenig of Qualcomm. So again, a very broad range of companies and skill sets are going into this. So again, what I'd like to do is encourage everybody out there to join SWAN. It's free to join for SWAN North America. So particularly if you're a utility out there, we would love you to get involved. As you can see from the slide, what we're really trying to do, as Amir said, is become a hub of knowledge for smart water, and we're well on our way to accomplishing that. Finally, in ending, I would like everybody to know that we're having our first workshop. It's going to be January 25th in San Diego at the Qualcomm headquarters between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. The title of the workshop is going to be Smart Water, Tapping Technology for Water Utilities. We will be sending an announcement out very shortly. So I would encourage anybody who's interested in smart water to join us in San Diego in January. With no further ado, I'd like to pass it on to Biju George, the Chief Operating Officer of DC Water, to talk about DC Water's perspective on smart water.
Thank you, Mark. Just as a way of introduction to DC Water, we provide retail water and wastewater services to the District of Columbia, the nation's capital, and also wholesale wastewater treatment services to Montgomery and Prince George's counties in Maryland and Fairfax and Loudoun counties in Virginia. Just from a district residents perspective, we provide more than 672 residents and also close to 18 million annual visitors to DC, and also about 700,000 or so people who are employed within the District of Columbia. The Blue Plains wastewater treatment plant treats water from Maryland and Virginia for an additional 1.6 million people. DC Water became an independent authority in 1996. As you see in the picture, our Blue Plains wastewater treatment plant, it's considered to be the largest advanced wastewater treatment facility in the world, not from the size or the capacity of it, but just from the advanced process through which we process 300 or so billion gallons every day here. This facility covers about 153 acres on the bank of Potomac River at the southmost tip of the district. DC Water has always been on the forefront of innovation and also been early adopters of technology, including smart technology. We implemented we were probably the first water utility to implement a fixed network AMR system in the United States in 2002. Following that, somewhere around 2004, an app we developed, which was called HUNA, or the High Usage Notification Application, just to provide advanced notices of leak inside a home before a customer was billed was a service probably was not known to the water industry at that time. So we have been on the forefront of adapting new technologies. Using the next few slides, let me establish where we are headed with our vision for an emerging smart system, adapting those technologies, as well as why we are part of SWAN and our vision for where we could go together with our industry partners using SWAN as a facilitating organization. Just to orient ourselves with the data evolution and journey as a water utility, water sector was always data-rich and data-centric. Prior to the 80s, I mean, it was certainly manual measuring, monitoring, and analyzing data. The 80s and 90s, we saw advancement of online monitoring and automation, and also an emergence of many models. We can thank the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, for making those available, mainly to the utilities. I'm referring to the hydraulic and water quality models, both for the process side as well as on the receiving stream side for water and wastewater. Modeling enabled us to the next level, forecasting and simulating operations and enabling a foundation now for adoption of where we are today, the next generation of smart systems as we are discussing here. As an illustration, in 1996, the year DC Water became an independent authority, we employed over 250 operators to run, just the operators alone to run the Blue Plains facility. Today, with the full automation, we run a very highly reliable operation with less than 65 operators. But we added about 35,000 hardware connections with over 400,000 data points. Also, just on the maintenance side, MMS or maintenance management system, it has more than 40,000 assets in it with possibly over 370 data points. DC Water, before every asset, whether it's a physical, vertical asset or linear asset, it's attributed with a criticality and also its condition, the state of condition, the age or the physical condition of it, along with other parameters, so you can have effective asset management. So as you can see, I mean, the industry has matured at a point where to adapt the next evolution of technology to fully leverage the advantage. But before I get to the data opportunity, let me touch the drivers behind why we are looking at new technology. Like any other U.S. utilities, DC Water, we are facing the same challenges: aging infrastructure, declining water usage, increasing regulations. So if you look at it, I don't think our case is any different than others. The massive infrastructure investment projected for the next 10 years, starting 2015, is looking at a 74% rate increase. So the primary driver behind the business justification for any new technology investment, for that matter, smart technology, is certainly driven by cost reduction, operational efficiency, as well as creation of new opportunities for new revenue. Just how at least we envision an approach towards adapting smart technology. We are envisioning that the smart system, we could start at the individual asset level, monitoring asset condition from a health perspective, enabling us to do predictive as well as prognostic maintenance decisions. At the unit process level, bringing optimized value, and then further engaging that at facility level as well as watershed level to bring largest opportunities. The biggest value opportunity, as we see, is in the watershed management and the vertical management and the wastewater collection systems. and also within the drinking water distribution system. Those are our areas of our focus. As we are looking into adopting new technologies, we try to maintain a very high-level vision how a collaborative approach would enable us to achieve the benefits sooner. Amir walked us through the 5-step platforms that SWAN has developed, but just for internal clarity, we maintain a 3-step view of technology adoption for simple reasons. What located within a utility, which I call here as the intranet of things, are the things that utilities will be making investments in to enable us with data sufficiency in terms of creating more information as well as data density. The extranet of thing is where we look into the expert and those who are supporting us through whether it's software, analytics, and then where we can totally leverage benefits in a collective manner. And then, of course, when you put it all together with the customer and the marketplace, then you see the evolution of Internet of Things. Just a delineation of this view give us a focus on how we approach the market and how we position ourselves in selecting new technologies, and also how we differentiating various elements so there is assurance of data interoperability to create more value of any service we consume. So creation of these collaborative platforms will not happen in a vacuum. Active dialogue is required among hardware manufacturers, software developers, solution providers, and utilities. And it needs to be very focused, and then it also needs to be focused on where utilities can have the highest value the soonest. So SWAN is the organization of DC Water's choice at this point to engage in that conversation. And I'm thankful to all those who have joined SWAN, and hoping to have more dialogues in the future, facilitating more conversation in the areas where we can create value for the water. Thank you all. I may turn this over to now Steve Davis from GE. He will take on from here.
Thank you, Biju. And just great to follow Biju, who is a fantastic thought leader and very proactive in terms of adopting new technology, new thoughts, and I think where this data enablement, smart water of the future, somebody that's going to be a true driver. Also wanted to thank SWAN North American Alliance for having this event. And just an introduction to myself, my name is Steve Davis. I'm with GE Water and Process Technologies. At GE Water and Process Technologies, we offer solutions for municipalities and utilities for equipment traditionally. But over the last year and a half, we've been focused on really investing and understanding how digital can help our customers transform, which is a great topic for today. As we go into this industrial internet, for all industries, including the industrials and our municipal utilities, the industrial internet brings together people, machines, and data to solve problems in a faster and more predictive way. It can take information from disparate sources of data and use it to help trace the root causes of a problem and stop it from happening again. Or even better, uncover potential problems before they even happen and allow utilities to solve those. These implications can help with huge opportunities that are within utilities. As we look at all the challenges and the issues around, we wonder, why is this important? Water infrastructure around the world is facing serious challenges. Many water assets, like piping, are outdated, unreliable, and in some cases unsafe, resulting in health and environmental hazards that could affect millions of people. In addition, some inherent qualities of water infrastructure have allowed it to be neglected over time. Most obvious, the physical assets are invisible. often buried underground. Further, there is a lack of baseline data on pipelines. Data including mapping, piping material, size, pipe thickness, installation date. This forces utilities to operate in a very reactive way. The majority of assets are managed at a local/municipal level. This highly decentralized network makes data collection and information sharing a challenge. This is compounded by the aging workforce that presents risk to institutional knowledge for these disparate data systems. Providers are often unaware of issues such as pipe leakage until it literally surfaces. Without real-time insight into network infrastructure conditions, operators are trapped in a negative reactive cycle. This reactive cycle is causing us to continue to go down a path where we don't have the investment or the tools to go ahead into the future. As we look at where we see challenges and opportunities for utilities to differentiate, specifically with smart water, how can we help? We believe that the answer lies in the growing digital ecosystem. Like Biju said, bringing together partners that are going to come to the table to work together with the data and the operators to figure this problem out. By applying the technologies from the private sector, like GE, to these widespread public issues, we can begin to tackle the most pervasive water infrastructure issues around the globe. GE's goal is to build a more sustainable water future by delivering software as a service through a single platform, Predix, to produce operational efficiencies that improve water quality and availability worldwide. By utilizing a single platform approach for data collection, management, and analysis, we're able to help water utilities shift to a proactive service model. Connecting the assets in a real-time monitoring network will reduce the amount of time it takes to discover leaks, water quality issues, and other service disruptions. This will enable utilities to fix problems more quickly, reduce unplanned outages, and limit damages to other pieces of critical infrastructure or the consumers of the water, your residents. Utilizing the same data, predictive analytics will identify and inform operators of potential problems, like a pipe burst or sewer blockage in advance, so that timely maintenance can take place to prevent issues from occurring in the future. Just in conclusion, the data and analytics, as we start to combine this data, will help to transform utilities in a way that they can get ROIs, return on investments, and strategic planning of capital in a more predictive and more optimized state. I'd like to introduce the next speaker, Captain Nelson Mix, Environmental Engineer at U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here representing the Environmental Protection Agency. Like Steve said, my name is Nelson Mix. I'm a U.S. Public Health Service Officer. If you look on the slide in front of you, what I'm going to talk about is advanced metering infrastructure, communications, getting that data to people. I'm going from left to right. Like I said, I am in the U.S. Public Health Service, and I'm assigned to the Environmental Protection Agency's Office of Water, specifically, and in the Office of Groundwater and Drinking Water within the Water Security Division. About 15 years ago, the EPA was charged with developing contamination warning systems, changed the name to surveillance and response systems. And these systems were intended to detect contamination, whether it was intentional or unintentional. And this occurred after 9/11, this mandate. And so we did some pilot work with utilities, and there's main components of these systems include source water monitoring, distribution system monitoring, enhanced security monitoring, public health surveillance, and customer complaints. And all of these components require communications and data to be integrated for visualization and analysis so that a response can occur, and that could invoke treatment adjustment or sampling and analysis or other processes. One of the things that this system did not include when it was first started was advanced metering infrastructure. And we've learned that advanced metering infrastructure can be a viable component in a surveillance and response system to help utilities be smart with their water. Amir mentioned the 5 layers, and the third layer he mentioned was communications. And all of these components and all of these devices require some type of communications. We recently published a document, it's a free download, about designing communication systems really for any utility purpose, and it specifically focuses on wired and wireless technologies. It's about 70 pages. Discusses criteria including the extent of use, data transmission rate, security, reliability, distances that data can be transmitted wirelessly, lifecycle costs, and it has a 5-step process for designing and implementing systems. And it's about 70 pages with diagrams, pictures, comparison tables, call-out boxes, helpful hints, case studies, and the information is on one of the subsequent slides where you can access it. So I just wanted to draw that to people's attention because a lot of times, we talk about communications, but this is kind of the how-to and gets people up to speed and with some common vernacular. One of the things that this document talks about is a traditional interconnect system. And traditionally, there's remote sites that communicate to a central facility where all decision-making occurs. This could be a water quality analyzer, as shown in the bottom left, going to a utility control center where there is some type of server running software, and then that software could push a signal to perform an operation, whether it's treatment or closing a valve. So in the case of water quality monitoring, the sensor would look at pH, turbidity, chlorine, TOC, and transmit that data every 5 minutes. But what's happened is as communication technologies and computer processors have become cheaper, faster, smaller, and consume less power, there's been innovation, and it's led to 2 important changes. And those changes are peer-to-peer architecture and at-the-edge processing. And in this case, what happens is the data is only transmitted from the sensor as needed up to the utility control center, not every 5 minutes. And it also can transmit the data to the valve or the device that's controlling an operation. And so that's something that's also highlighted in here, and that's what we see. We heard mention the addition of several hardwired points of DC water and the challenges that we have with, some of the technology and also the opportunity. And I do think that we all agree that as we get smarter, the benefits tend to weigh towards the opportunities. I talked a little bit about advanced metering infrastructure, and what I want to say about that in closing is that a couple of years ago, we interviewed several utilities that had AMI, large, medium, and small. They were public and private. They were in diverse climates, whether they had a lot of water or water scarcity in different climates. And they had different rationales for why they implemented AMI. And we also wanted to talk to different companies who use different vendors of AMI. And we learned that accurate billing was very important. Timely meter reads, there's obviously a cost savings without having to drive miles, and conservation reduces, the amount of water used, the amount of energy that's used to treat and pump water, and it's important for drought areas as well. One of the other big reasons and things that, why we're interested in AMI as a part of our surveillance and response system is in the blue on the bottom of the screen, public health. The meters can transmit alerts for tampering and backflow. And also if there is an event, you could mine that data for retrospectively to help manage consequences. But a big reason, as you can see in the top of the screen in black writing, is modeling, non-revenue water, and resiliency was a really big thing that we didn't really anticipate, but some of the East Coast utilities used their AMI systems to be a surrogate of where power was out during Superstorm Sandy. There's earthquake planning scenarios on the West Coast in California related to AMI, and cold weather, adding sensors onto the meters for temperature and remote shutoff. There's a lot of possibilities with that. And again, it all comes back to some of this communication and the technologies. So that concludes my presentation, and I would like to now turn it back over to Seth and Anna.
Thank you very much. Audience members, I would like to quickly go over some next steps before we start our question and answer session. If you'd like more information on this briefing or our growth partnership services, we encourage you to reach out to us via our Go Frost line at 1-877-463-7678, or you can send us an email at myfrost@frost.com. Your feedback is always important to us, so under the Rate This button, please provide any feedback, comments, or suggestions on today's presentation or on our webcast program. We also encourage you to follow us on our social media websites, Facebook, LinkedIn, SlideShare, and Twitter, to keep up to date on upcoming webinars and research. Now at this time, I'd like to open up the floor for our question and answer session. So if you do have a question, please type your question under the Ask a Question button. Over to you, Seth, for the questions.
Great. Thank you, Anna. So just to start with the questions that were submitted, the first one is just a little bit of an admin asking if this presentation will be posted online. This presentation will be archived with Frost through our briefing website. Anna, do you want to say a quick bit about that?
Yes, Seth, most definitely. What we can do is they can listen to the on-demand recording, so they will have the recording and then the slides used from the presentation. But as far as downloading the slides, we're not able to download the slides, directly.
Perfect. Thank you. And the first question here goes to Biju. This is just referring back to the slide where you have the rate charge increase of 74%. Someone's wondering if that is an average over the next 10 years, kind of a forecast, or is that maybe a historical previous 10 years?
That's over the next 10 years, starting 2015 as a basis. It's forecasted based on current operating expenses, planned CIPs, and so that's a forward-looking rate increase.
Perfect. Thank you. And also another question just asking if SWAN's an initiative of Frost & Sullivan or a partnership. It is not an initiative of Frost & Sullivan. The SWAN Forum is its own industry group. So they operate completely separately from Frost, but certainly as part of their industry membership, we do want to be involved and help promote SWAN and promote the technology and data-driven services for water utilities. Another question as well. Are there any examples today of advanced metering infrastructure being used as a tool for reducing non-revenue water and leakage to surgically repair pipes versus mass pipe replacement or repair? Would anyone from the panel like to answer that?
Hi, so this is Nelson. Yes,
Yep.
I'll take a stab at this. So I've been to several presentations at conferences where I have seen the data presented in relation, for example, to the AWWA M36 standard. And, you know, it's mass balanced. There's district metering within the utility areas, and you can, within a pressure zone, have a master meter, and within that pressure zone have the smaller household meters and aggregate the consumption and figure out where the losses are occurring and narrow that down. And there are technologies that incorporate this data into the models, the hydraulic models at the utility, and with acoustic sensing technologies where they're able to systematically replace pipe on a capital basis based on this. So I've seen the presentations of it, my understanding.
Perfect. Would anyone else like to answer that, or we can move on to another question? I'll give a few seconds.
Yeah, this is Steve Davis. So I think that following Nelson, I've seen a lot of presentations, talked to some utilities that have implemented some very unique ways of doing district metering and basically being able to strategically find out where to go after doing advanced detection for leaks. So really narrowing down within the distribution network where to go and put capital resources to go look for the areas to fix and or repair or replace piping and infrastructure. I think as AMI and AMR gets more sophisticated, more scaled up, that you're going to see more of that occurring where you're going to be able to use those meters with all the data put together to be able to be more strategic about replacement.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. One other question here as well. Just looking a little bit towards cybersecurity. A little bit topical. I think it's certainly been in the news lately, just overall. But in reference to this presentation, are there any I guess, standards or something coming forward in relation to cybersecurity?
I can take this, Steve Davis. I can take a quick stab from the industrial side. GE, along with many others, have taken a major focus on cybersecurity. It's typically the first question that we get from customers is how that you're going to protect the data that they have around their operations, but also customer data, consumer data. And it's very critical to think about this very holistically. Think about how this security and cybersecurity fit into the strategy and the digital strategy that each utility has, and making sure that you're implementing best practices. These best practices are constantly changing to stay ahead of changes in the environment with cybersecurity. But it's one that I believe, everybody, every utility is looking at both from a personal perspective, but also from a corporation. So at GE, we do this. We look at and have acquired cybersecurity companies that allow us to have industrial-focused cybersecurity, protecting infrastructure from being hacked or going into, minimizing that risk, and allowing our customers to be safe while going into more of this digital and smart water direction. Hand it off to anybody else.
Perfect. Yeah, actually, I'm wondering that question as well. Is there a standpoint, Nelson, just from the EPA or something you're working towards?
Right. So it's very interesting. A couple of years ago, there was an executive order about cybersecurity to create a framework. And there is a framework. I believe AWWA helped the American Water Works Association publish a free tool for drinking water utilities. Essentially it comes down to good cyber hygiene. That can solve about 85% of the problems. And I get this statistic from the Department of Homeland Security and from their ICS CERT entity that looks at cyber threats. It's really important to, as a strategy, just a strategy part of the hygiene is minimize the open ports. And when you're adding several devices onto a system, in the internet connectivity, it's an issue. So yeah, that's kind of the short of it. in my opinion. So yeah, it's not. And there's a lot happening. I mean, there's a lot of concern. But like I said, 85% of it can be handled, I think, pretty easily with cyber hygiene.
Great. And Amir, I think this one probably goes to you. Thinking of global interconnectivity, is SWAN the organization to which we should look for the semantics and standards related to interoperability we will need for a connected water world? So things like addressing cubic meters versus acre foot, channels for communication, etc. So I guess what is the role of SWAN when it comes to global standards and interconnectivity?
Okay, thanks, Seth. So SWAN really brings in leaders from around the world. And the goal of SWAN is to create a collaborative platform where our members can work together through different work groups, publish research, and we have a work group just dedicated to the topic of interoperability, actually led by Qualcomm. They published a white paper which is on the SWAN website, which I encourage you to check out. But this is a really important issue, and I remember I was on a panel with Nelson a month ago, and we got the same question from the audience. And so Nelson, if you want to add to that.
No, I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, I think just it's a really important issue, and SWAN is addressing it through this work group, but it is an important topic and difficult topic to tackle.
Great. Okay. And Biju, I think this one is for you. Does DC Water have a roadmap for the adoption of smart technologies over the next few years? Are there priority areas that you're looking at?
So, good question. Yes, we do. Again, as I mentioned that before, just getting the utility ready for adoption of smart technology. It goes primarily based on defining the need. I mean, based on where are the most opportunities, and then the second part is selecting the right technologies. In case of low-cost sensors or wireless communication or other things, and then finally, when it comes to security, I mean, those things are foundational. Just a quick comment on the security, since it's relevant as part of this question as well. Cybersecurity is going to become more and more part of a competency that any utility will have to maintain. DHS, Department of Homeland Security, provide free services as well as intrusion tests to water utilities on a regular basis. We do that on a weekly basis to make sure that where are our vulnerabilities. And then also they have a scoring system, 0 to 10, 0 being perfect, to 10 being the lowest. So you can find where you are, and we tend to stay score very high on that, just because of all the cybersecurity part that we maintain. So getting the security piece critical as well as we plan for the future. But just from a value perspective, we look into 4 areas. The first one is asset optimization. How we can maximize the value of our asset management through predictive analytics, as well as using data to more data-oriented replacement of our linear assets. The second one is operational optimization. How we can maximize value on the operational side. So we use what we call as a business reference model to identify for almost any operational value chain end-to-end what the cost is, and then look into newer technology, how it can significantly reduce or compress processes and then create value. So we are quite a few looking into that. And 2 other areas of our interest are new revenue opportunities. I mean, now since you have a better access to customer, better collaborative platforms, we are looking into how we can offer water as a service beyond a meter. Just to cite an example, we are looking into providing possibly Legionella concern if a commercial establishment or a hospital has that as a concern, how we can offer that as a service, leveraging technology platform. We are looking into that, working with a couple of our technology partners. And then the other next part is simulating, especially with a risk mitigation in view. Because you just can't have drill solve, but using the data to simulate what are the worst cases and how we can respond to that better. So those are some of the areas we are focusing on. But our primary focus right now is vertical assets. We enabled our entire DC 157 or so acre campus with the Wi-Fi at every corner, and initially it will be used for communication devices. Employees will be used with the hope that we can start harvesting, wireless sensors and other things to start more into equipment diagnostic type of approach. So we do have an approach, and we're slowly moving towards that with our technology partners.
Great, thank you. Two admin questions, and I think one more as well. So just again, this presentation will be available on demand through this system, so do feel free to share this around with others to replay at a later date. And the questions others have posed, not explicitly viewable, but just by replaying this audio, you will be able to go through the questions that people have posed. So one question here, which may be our last one. In the panelists' experience, is it beneficial for utility operators to leverage a single communications network for AMI, Internet of Things, and other smart city communications requirements?
This Biju, I'll go first. I think it varies on the size of the utility and the scale. It's a utility of the size and scale of DC water. It's very hard to standardize everything on one technology alone because it may not be the most cost-effective in one area, may not be the same in other areas. So our plan is to have a hybrid just to get started, and also learn more about what the market has to offer, and then how we can move forward. But one focus we have is we try to make sure that we are not investing in a technology that has a very short technology obsolescence window. So, for example, if you're trying to use a 2G, then that you have a short window you're operating within. So, other than that, we have an open mind, and we are adopting communication technology is what makes the most economic sense for us.
Yeah, and this is Nelson. If I can add on to what you said, the meter vendors, sometimes have proprietary technologies that they use with their meter in the meter interface units, and they may be radio frequency based or cellular based. And so there's that factor, and I think the thing that I learned a month or so ago at the Smart Cities Conference is with the emergence of smart cities and smart streetlights, and streetlights becoming a platform for communication devices, whether they're cellular or Wi-Fi or other types of radio frequency, that's kind of a game changer. And so there's mergers and acquisitions taking place, and I think there's some positioning of companies towards this end, and it's going to be interesting how it plays out. But what I noticed in doing the interviews with different utilities that use different metering companies is that there's a lot of proprietary technology or preferences that's used during the selection of a system.
Yeah, I would add to Nelson's comment and also Biju. What we're seeing in the marketplace is that with digital, it allows you to be more open to a variety of players, whether that be meters and different meter styles, along with sensors. And as the communication network dynamics are changing the landscape that Nelson hit on, it's going to allow us to be more flexible with different providers to come into this space and potentially new technologies. So it's one to really watch and see, but also have a strategy and a plan to go out and start to implement.
Great. Okay, well, I think we have time for one more, which is probably a good one to cap everything off. What can we, as SWAN partners, do to help you accelerate adoption of smart water technologies?
Okay, I can start off. This is Amir. I think that SWAN has really developed great resources to help utilities learn about the benefits of smart water solutions. A lot of our resources are free. For example, we have an interactive architecture tool where utilities can explore smart water solutions by their particular challenges, business drivers, drill down on particular technologies like SCADA or smart meter, AMI, see benefits, also case studies. And I think the first step is to really join the Alliance, which Mark mentioned, and become a member, get updates of what we're doing. We're going to have more than this webinar. This is just the beginning, as well as this utility workshop in San Diego, January 25th. So I think, one, join the Alliance, and two, go to the SWAN website, see what we have to offer, ask us any questions, and just join this effort.
This is Biju. From a utility perspective, we would like to see a very clear direction how all the players are coming together so that we can develop a real roadmap for the future with a lot more clarity than it is out there now. So that's why it's more critical that the vendors, all those who are interested in sharing this new economy which will be created by smart system or Internet of Things, come together, especially paying attention to water, and then having common dialogue, especially matters related to things that we referred before, security, data interoperability, and then finally how we can create most value out of the data that we are bringing in. Because at least in my opinion, there's tremendous value we can harness. We can use the help of all those who are participating, but bringing a focus and then priorities to that would certainly help.
Perfect. Thank you. So just in closing, I want to thank again the panel for joining us today. It's really been an excellent session, and I also appreciate everyone dialing in and listening and contributing their questions. Just to refer everyone for future reference and be encouraged to visit the Alliance website. That's swan-forum.com/SWAN-NA-Alliance. So do feel free to check out the Alliance. As we've said before, membership is free. So really trying to encourage everyone to join up and help with the conversation and really contribute in how the industry can be moved forward. And just to reiterate, we are going to have the workshop in San Diego on January 25th. That will also be a free workshop, so really hoping to get a lot of different stakeholders to come, utilities, vendors, regulators, really anyone that wants to learn more about smart water networks in North America and how we can start to promote these technologies and solutions. So thank you very much again, everyone, and I'll pass things over to Anna just to wrap up.
Thank you. This concludes today's presentation. We do hope you found today's webcast informative. Again, feel free to contact us with any questions or additional feedback with the information provided on your screen at this time. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.